Good afternoon, folks. At 12 noon today, we lifted the province-wide wildfire state of emergency. To be absolutely clear, this is still a very serious situation. We're going to have to keep working together as thousands of our fellow Manitobans make their way home. We can do this with normal government powers, and it's important that we have a light touch when it's something as serious as declaring a state of emergency. So, I want to be grateful and thankful and express our gratitude for everybody who stepped up, the people on the front lines of the fight against the wildfires who continue to do amazing work, to the folks at the local level who helped make sure that thousands of Manitobans made their way to safety, to the people in other parts of the province who have rolled out the welcome mat and helped to feed and shelter tens of thousands of people. This has been a moment where we've really seen the best of our province shining through. And with some help from Mother Nature and the weather recently, we've been able to make progress through some excellent leadership from the healthcare system and the emergency management experts. We've been able to make progress in returning services to local communities, and because of the good nature and hard work of many Manitobans, particularly in the north and in eastern Manitoba, we've been able to see many people start to return home. And so today we are making the decision under the direction of Minister Lisa Naylor to lift the province-wide state of emergency. The effect of this is that some of those emergency orders that we had around congregate shelters, security measures, supports for pets were no longer needed. We're still providing these services, but we're able to deliver them using the normal channels of government. And so as we move forward in our great Manitoba summer, we want everyone to be safe. We want everyone to be free to enjoy the rest of your summers. And we're going to keep working together with our partners in Indigenous communities, municipalities, other levels of government to ensure that our overarching duty to keep you safe is going to be respected. So let's keep working together. Let's keep taking care of one another. And today marks an important time for us to say thank you to all the people who got us through this state of emergency related to wildfires. Thanks.
Over to me. Okay, thank you, Premier. Kristen Hayward, Assistant Deputy Minister responsible for the Wildfire Service with Natural Resources and Indigenous Futures. So there are 23 fires burning in the province as of my information, which is as of yesterday. 7 of these are still considered out of control. There have been 129 fires to date, and the total area burned is over 909,000 hectares. Even though a lot of folks have gone home, we still have a number of fires that are affecting communities, and all of these are still considered out of control. This includes Fire North 2 near Lynn Lake, North 5 in the vicinity of Genpeg, Cross Lake, Pimicikamat Cree Nation, Fire East 61 in the Bird River Nopaming area, Fire 17 in the vicinity of Flin Flon and Sheridan, and West 25 at Puckatawagan. I do want to reiterate that although people have gone home and their communities are considered safe for them to occupy at this time, people can still expect to see smoke and active flames at times as they're, going about their days in their communities. And so, we are getting a lot of calls from folks that are concerned that they're still seeing active fire, and that is okay. These are very large fires. We do have staff on the ground who are responding to any potential issues or risks to the community. I'll leave it there today.
Thank you. I'm Christine Stevens. I'm the Assistant Deputy Minister responsible for the Manitoba Emergency Management Organization. There are currently 17 states of local emergencies in Manitoba at this time. 12 communities across Manitoba remain evacuated, and over 9,000 Manitobans have now been able to go home. And I'll leave it there for now. Minister.
Thanks, Christine. I'm Lisa Naylor. I'm Minister responsible for emergency management. And I just want to convey my sincere appreciation to all individuals, businesses, and organizations who stepped up to help Manitobans during this time. I want to thank the folks who reassessed their travel plans when we asked to ensure that we're able to provide hotel rooms for evacuees. We still have thousands of evacuated Manitobans. We're still occupying 93 hotels in 19 different communities with evacuees. But fortunately, for the moment, the need has stabilized. So, as the Premier said, we have lifted the state of emergency because we don't want to exercise such extraordinary powers with if they're not needed. But the situation in the province does remain serious, and we're still asking everyone to do their part to continue to help Manitobans. I really encourage folks to utilize the Manitoba Ready app at mbready.manitoba.ca to receive critical and up-to-date information about wildfire incidents, weather alerts, road closures, and evacuation supports. MB Ready offers real-time updates, and it's important for staying connected and informed about the current situation, especially for anyone visiting or traveling throughout the province. And I especially want to thank the frontline responders, the emergency management organization, and all the government departments, extensive amounts of support within government for their continued efforts during this unprecedented wildfire crisis. The swift coordination, the strategic planning, dedication, and tireless work has been instrumental in protecting Manitobans and communities across the province. And now we're open to taking questions.
Minister, you mentioned, what's the message now, I guess, for visitors or people wanting to travel? Like, should they book hotel rooms? What's the message now?
At this point, we have many hotel rooms are occupied, and we have another hundreds of hotel rooms that we are currently reserving and ready if needed. We still know that communities could be evacuated going forward, so we're preparing for what the summer may bring. But we do encourage folks to use Manitoba Ready to see where the dangers are throughout the province, what parks are open, what campsites are open, in order to make their travel decisions.
Ms. Stevens, you said 9,000 people have been able to go back home. Does that mean there are 21 minus 9 still evacuated?
Approximately 13,000 remain out at this time, yes.
And I assume some are returning every day, given the state of things? Is that number diminishing every day?
So that number reflects the populations of communities that have been given the green light to go home. So, as, for example, Flin Flon is planning to return home on Wednesday, that number will come down significantly at that point.
Ms. Hayward, can you give us an update on the tickets, charges that have been handed out?
Sure. The information I have is that conservation officers have laid 93 charges and issued 31 warnings for wildfire-related infractions. I believe that hasn't been updated since late last week, though. And the majority of those are under the Wildfires Act and the Parks Activities Regulation for entering a wildfire area when closed, not following burning restrictions and that sort of thing.
Any related to the wildfires that are burning right now, arson or charges?
No, that's not reflected in those numbers, no.
Premier, I don't know who with this before, but can you just take us through what goes into the decision to lift the evacuation order? What considerations are made for the communities and future fire activity?
Well, I think first and foremost, there's the safety consideration and having a number of days where we've seen a trend of things moving in the right direction, both in terms of the wildfire situation, but also more and more communities repatriating, deciding that it's safe for people to return home. And alongside that, we also see the health services and other things that people need starting to go back to their communities. And so we're looking at that at the provincial level. We had a series of orders underneath the broader state of emergency umbrella, and those things were stood up quickly under the state of emergency declaration, but since then we've kind of found other ways to deliver them. In some cases, congregate shelters have been wound down. In other cases, we've been able to get the process started on agreements, which are just longer-term arrangements with these companies. So that's all, I guess, the individual pieces of information that help us decide to lift an order. But on the highest level, what I would say is this. We've all seen Donald Trump put tariffs on us because of states of emergency that he's declared that there's no emergency there. So for us, we want to keep reasonable government in mind as one of our principles here, which means having a light touch with something like emergency powers. And as things have been getting safer and as normal government channels have allowed us to deliver the services, we've come to a place where we can remove the state of emergency and just respect the freedoms and normal course of business that our society should always operate under.
Monsieur Kinew, quelles sont les raisons pour lesquelles on peut lever l'état d'urgence au Manitoba?
Bien, premièrement, c'est les raisons sécuritaires et puis le progrès que les pompiers ont fait en luttant contre les incendies. Alors aujourd'hui, nous sommes ici pour partager un message que oui, c'est encore très sérieux dans le nord et puis les autres régions affectées par les incendies, mais nous sommes en même temps capables de enlever ces dispositions pour l'état d'urgence.
Mr. Naylor, just to go back about the hotels things, it doesn't sound like there is a messaging change here, right? Like it still sounds like be careful, do your research if you are planning to travel.
Yeah, what I'll say is that at this time, our need for hotel rooms has stabilized. We still have hundreds and hundreds of people in hotel rooms, but we also have additional hotel rooms that the province is holding in case of future evacuees. So we are saying that, yes, there is, you can travel to Manitoba, but at the same time, stay cautious depending on where you're going in the province. We have active wildfires throughout the province. There are still parks that are closed. There are still fire bans. So we're asking people to be very aware, to use the Manitoba Ready app and to know where you're going and, what any safety concerns that should be considered.
If rooms are available, book away, I guess.
Yeah, I think at this point we're holding the rooms that we might need for a future evacuation, which was not where we were at the start of this. So we're much better prepared in terms of available rooms if there's some required in the weeks ahead.
Because we're just entering what traditionally has been forest fire season as opposed to this early one, correct? Like you're worried about July and August.
Yeah, we've heard that, right, from our fire service. We don't know. And we also, a number of evacuees, even if their communities have gone back, may have extenuating circumstances, health needs, other reasons why they're not able to go back. So a lot of our P1 folks are still in hotel rooms, even if the rest of their community's gone back because of the smoke in the air or other health services that they need.
There was talk last week of moving around 100 evacuees from Thompson elsewhere because it was a struggle to find hotel rooms. But whoever can update me on that, what's the status?
We've closed.
Yes, I can share an update on that. So the folks from Lynn Lake and Marcel Coulombe were able to go home on Friday. And we were able to move folks that had been in the Thompson shelter to hotel accommodations in Thompson, and that shelter has now closed.
Are there any people in congregate settings at this point?
We believe that there are some folks still in congregate settings in Nelson House and in Seguin, but work is underway to get all of those people into hotels.
Do you have a number?
Not at the moment, I don't know.
So then the Leela complex would be the only provincially ran center that's still remaining open?
It's open as a registration center. No one is currently staying in that shelter.
They're only staying in those two places, Nelson House and Seguin. Yeah.
Monsieur Kinew, quel est votre message aux résidents de Flin Flon qui vont réintégrer probablement leur maison le 25 juin?
Ben, j'espère que ce processus continuera dans une façon pour donner vous l'appui que vous avez besoin pour rejoindre votre vie. Et puis, en même temps, nous sommes toujours en train de remercier les pompiers et puis les autres qui étaient là pendant tout ce temps. Ils ont fait un job remarquable.
Can we go to Zoom quick?
Zoom.
Thank you, Premier. We have one outlet on Zoom today. Globe and Mail, Teamer, one question, one follow-up.
Hi, thank you so much for taking our questions today. We've been warned by federal officials, particularly from Environment and Climate Change Canada, that prolonged heat waves and lower than normal precipitation are expected to create conditions that are ripe for wildfires later this summer. If there are more wildfires in Manitoba later this summer, is the province planning to declare another province-wide state of emergency? I'm just sort of wondering what the thinking around this that is right now.
Well, I think the message is that we've lifted the current state of emergency, and so I won't go into the hypotheticals beyond that. What I would say is that our approach throughout this emergency is, one, to listen to the amazing people that we have working for us, whether that's on fighting the fires or managing the emergency. But two, it's to trust you, the people of Manitoba. You're smart. You want to make decisions that are about the right thing. And so we've asked people to, at various times, maybe reconsider travel plans, or we've asked people in the hotel industry to work with us. And every time we've done that, Manitobans have responded with smarts and maturity. And so we think it's really important for us as we go through a challenging period like this year's wildfire season to be very respectful and to be restrained with how we're using tools like emergency powers. And so as we go through the rest of the year, we're going to continue to do that, which is to, in the first instance, just put out the call for cooperation and to work together. And then if situations such as we saw about a month ago demand it, then to take more drastic steps only as far as are necessary.
Thank you. I asked this question to Minister Naylor last week, but Premier, I'm wondering from you as well, what lessons have you learned from this early and active start to the wildfire season? Specifically, are there things you didn't know about before when you declared this emergency in late May that you know now and things you'll carry with you as the summer continues with this?
The first thing is the amazing expertise and heroism of the people fighting the fires and the good humor that people have maintained, even though, maybe they're fighting fires for days on end with minimal sleep. So that's something that is important for us to relearn time and time again. It's just the amazing human spirit that we see on display in provinces like Manitoba. And on the more policy-oriented side, misinformation. We saw several times where the very, very valuable time of some of the folks that you see up here or other experts, instead of managing the actual emergency, were devoting parts of their day to dispelling things that weren't true. So that is the nature of the world. It's maybe a little bit more magnified now in the time of social media, but it's an important thing for us to keep in mind as well, too, is that steady flow of information from trusted sources so that you can make decisions as, a good-hearted Manitoban. It's really important for us to protect those channels and keep them open.
Okay, thank you, Premier. That's everything from Zoom. We'll send it back to the room.
Mr. Premier, was it premature to ask conferences to, cancel their hotels to support evacuees? We have like the Canadian School Board Association. They were going to have a conference here in early July. Hundreds of people coming in, all these hotel room bookings, they shifted their conference, virtually now, and we lose those tourism dollars that were going to come. Was it premature to get those conferences to be canceled?
No.
And I guess, could you elaborate on that? Why was it not premature?
Well, the threat from wildfire to life and limb and property has been extraordinary this year. We've lost Manitobans in this wildfire season, and so keeping you safe is always job one.
There's a province-wide trail ban on a different note. Any update on what would happen on that front?
you want to jump in here?
Sure. I can jump in here. I think that this is being continually evaluated, certainly at Kristen's level, but also with parks. They have a lot of say on this. So at this time, there's still concerns about new fire starts, and there's concerns about Manitoban safety, but it will be continually evaluated. I know folks want to get out and hike and camp and have that opportunity, and so we have to balance that with safety first and foremost.
Is a blanket ban the right approach, or could that start being eased up in certain quarters of the province?
That's a decision that's made at in the Environment Department and Parks, right? In consultation with Kristen's department. Do you have more? Do you want to contribute to this, Kristen?
Yeah, I'll maybe just refer to Fire Bulletin 36 from June 18. We did lift fire and travel restrictions in a number of areas in that bulletin as a result of a reevaluation of the fire risk in those areas. So that's areas 6, 7, and area A. And we did lower the level of restrictions in many of the other areas just due to precipitation and reduced fire danger levels. So, as Minister said, that's something that we do continually evaluate.
Late last week, there was talk of outfitters and lodgers seeking financial supports and assistance. Could that be an option down the road for whoever can?
Is this in relation to like lost tourism dollars or fire risk?
Lost revenues, and then with some restrictions continuing on, there's a worry that business won't jump up.
Yeah, I imagine this is a case-by-case basis, and certainly some of those would be located in regions that are fire affected, and so there's going to be a different impact than, someone canceling. We heard about some cancellations. May or may not have been attributed to us asking people to reevaluate. I imagine if I'm coming in from the U.S. or somewhere else to go fishing and I see that a wide swath of the province is on fire, I might want to delay my trip to another time. And so we know those were the nature of likely some of the cancellations. So I think each of these would be a case-by-case basis depending on how insurance, would impact those effects on people or where they're located in the province. And as we've mentioned before, we also have a tax deferral opportunity for every business in the province.
Premier, has there been any discussion or estimate at this early stage about the financial impact on the provincial government? And secondly, discussions with Ottawa on disaster financial assistance? Well,
I would say yes, to your first point. We're constantly staying on top of that, and I'd say we're roughly in line with where our target is in the budget that we prepared this year. And yeah, we have at the highest level started the conversation about disaster financial assistance arrangements, but it's going to take, I think, a lot of hard work at the officials level, if you will. So I raised this with the Prime Minister at the First Minister's meeting a few weeks back, and let him know that we'd be coming forward with our numbers in that process, and I look forward to working together with the feds to help Manitobans rebuild.
What is that number, even if there's a number out there or an estimate?
It's in line with what we budgeted for this year. I do.
Isn't it 50 million? It used to be 100. It's 50.
Yeah, well, there's a number of different budget lines that we could point to here.
Anything else?
Another topic?
Go ahead.
Okay. Premier, just speaking of trusted sources of local information, on Friday the government announced the local journalism committee schedule public meetings across the province. I'm just wondering what you're hoping that this committee, what these hearings will produce, what benefit there will be to them.
I hope that Manitobans are served by having local journalists working in your community across many different platforms. This is an era where a lot of people get their news from a newspaper, a lot of people get it from radio, a lot of people get it through digital platforms, whether on the web or social media or otherwise. And as AI and other technologies permeate our lives. It's really, really important that we have trusted information from trusted sources. And so we're going to take some time to listen to Manitobans and see what your priorities are in terms of ensuring that there is a free press, lowercase, on both letters, to deliver your ability to understand what's going on in your community, to hold the powerful to account, and to ensure that the public interest is served.
Monsieur Kinew, quelles sont les consignes présentement à l'heure actuelle par rapport au voyage à l'intérieur de la province du Manitoba?
Bien, il y avait les nouvelles partagées au fin de la dernière semaine qui ont les détails.
You mentioned the rain, Premier, just as having a positive effect. We've also had cooler temperatures. Yeah. What would be, if we can point to something that's really helped our wildfire situation? Is it both? Is it one or the other?
It's Mother Nature bringing the cooler temperatures and the rain at the same time that Manitobans are stepping up to work together. When I was in Flin Flon and people there were talking about, like, Morden has the biggest fire truck they ever seen, and people are slapping each other on the back saying, like, you know, this is a great person here that I've gotten to know over the past few days. Like, it's that cooperation of people from all parts of the province working together to preserve communities, along with more beneficial weather recently.
Are we keeping those nearly 300 firefighters and other supports in place?
Yeah, I think so. Like, again, we're lifting the state of emergency because we want to hold back on government powers. But when it comes to the wildfire fight, that is still very much a serious situation, and we're still relying on a lot of help from people from other jurisdictions. I know Kristen has some specific details she could probably run you through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll just maybe build on what the Premier said there. We do have 375 personnel from other jurisdictions in the province right now, including, you know, over 200 from the United States federal agencies and 100 from Quebec and France who have recently come to the province, as well as support from Newfoundland, Parks Canada, and some of the U.S. states.
Do we have an update on the number of structures that have burned?
No, we do not.
All right, thanks everyone.
Thanks, Manitoba.